Hello and welcome to Tyaag or Izzat, a Bollywood podcast. I am Budhima, and we also have with us Andi Behan. Usually, we spend 23 out of 24 hours just being very sad and being like terrorized by the evil villain, who's usually Raza Murad or Shakti Kapoor or Beth's beloved Ranjit. But we have taken time out of our very busy schedules to record this episode, in which we're going to talk about the stuff we've been watching recently. I don't really know how Auntie Ben has been watching things, given that she's Auntie. But do tell Auntie Ben, what have you been watching?
Well, first, let me just say there seems to be a mighty tufan about to happen here in central Illinois, which feels most inauspicious.
Very
We've
inauspicious.
already had some technical difficulties today, so we'll just
Mm.
struggle on. Almost everything I watch these days is for this podcast, and thus you have already heard about it. But back in January, I did finally watch Trimurti.
Yay!
And not too long ago, I watched Killer Soup, which of course is a series and not a movie. And then I would love to talk about my favorite, or one of my favorite murder mystery TV shows, not
Hmm.
Indian, which is actually from New Zealand.
Oh, okay. So first of all, tell us about Killer Soup. I have not seen this show, and I was wondering if I should.
I think you should.
Okay.
I really liked it. I did feel maybe by the last couple of episodes, they had tried to stretch it out maybe a little longer than they needed to, like chop by one episode and just condense a little
Mm.
bit. But I really loved it. I thought it was imaginative. I thought the acting was, of course, amazing with a cast of Konkana Sen Sharma, Manoj Bajpayee, and Nasser, who
Mhm.
I have seen in very few things, but I really, really love. And now I would like to watch more of his things, especially as this. Um, I don't know if you would say he's in his elder statesman era, but he's probably getting pretty close. And I think he's absolutely phenomenal.
Mhm.
Um, it was a visually really interesting show. It is very dark. It is kind of violent in parts, or maybe not kind of just violent
Mm.
in parts, but in ways that I thought were suitable given that it's a murder mystery. Um, I really had a lot of fun with it. And I do love murder mysteries, but sometimes with subtitles is an extra challenge, not a challenge here. I thought everything was great.
Okay.
The setting is interesting. None of these people are super likable, which is kind of fun. Like it's a little more complicated to decide whose side you're on and things like that. So I um fully recommend, with the caveat that it is a little bit violent it is violent
Right.
at times, but not in a for me it was not so violent that I couldn't watch it. This was not, for example, Sacred Games level for me.
Mm.
So I would recommend.
So, without giving spoilers, because I do want to watch it, what exactly is the main concept of the show?
So Konkana Sen Sharma is married to Manoj Bajpayee, and she
Oh,
really wants to open a restaurant. That's her dream, and she keeps making this soup, and it's
mm.
terrible. Everybody hates the soup, but nobody will tell her. She is also having an affair with someone who is her husband's look-alike, very much in line with our twins episode that we just
Yeah.
did, also played by Manoj Bajpayee. And then the husband gets
Mm.
gets dead, I will say. I won't say how that
Right.
happens exactly, but then, cover up, and can they replace him with the look-alike?
Mm.
And then a police officer who's helping investigate also vanishes. And we do see what
Oh,
happens to that person, but then um Nasser keeps getting visions of that inspector trying to help him, because Nasser is the main inspector.
okay.
Um there's a hospital involved because Konkana used to work at the hospital before she, kind of got married. The husband was and his brother, and I'm
Mhm.
blanking on the actor's name who plays the brother, but you've 100% seen him before. They are property kind of developers. They want to make a really fancy hotel. There's all sorts of nonsense happening with that. The brother has a kind of bodyguard slash heavy character who's really interesting. Kokana and her husband have a son. The brother has a daughter. So there's these two cousins who are younger generation, and that's kind of interesting. Like it's all just
Mm.
a big tangle. Everything's very dark. Um,
Mhm.
these are, yeah, like I said, these are not good people for the most part. And watching them kind of float around and get to boiling in their killer soup is very interesting.
Oh, okay. Interesting. I think I might check it out then. I was
Mhm.
curious about it, but I usually avoid reading reviews of TV shows, especially if they're
Yeah.
mysterious, because I feel like by the second paragraph, the reviewer has already given away all the things. So cool. I watched two movies. Interestingly, both of them are produced by Maddock Entertainment, and
Mhm.
I had no idea going in. And I typically like Maddock stuff. Like I
Mhm.
love Bhedia, I love Stree, although I did not like Ruhi. So I watched Teri Baaton Mein Aisa Uljha Jiya, which I think is a terribly long title and very quite a mouthful. It has Kriti Sanon and Shahid Kapoor in it, and I watched it on 9,000. And I do want to give kudos for an interesting concept because, and this is not a spoiler, Kriti Sanon
Mhm.
basically plays a robot. The movie is basically about this robot that is this technology where these robots can basically impersonate human beings and you can have like relationships with them and stuff. And So I like the fact that it was at least a different concept. And I thought that Kriti Sanon did an interesting job. And I thought Shahid did a good job as well. Dimple Kapadia plays the scientist, and it's always nice to see Dimple. And I loved seeing her as a scientist. She was very believable as this like badass woman working in STEM. Like she's a researcher, but she's also a scientist, but she's also like very crafty and savvy and understands like how to run a business. I mean, she honestly like she has a smaller role obviously than Kriti and Shahid, but she just like I was just amazed by her. My only complaint about her in this movie is that they put that gorgeous hair in a ponytail and in a bun, and I do not approve of that. I don't care if she's a scientist. That glorious mane needs to just like be running free with the breeze going through it. But she just looks so amazing in like her pantsuits and stuff. Um,
Yeah.
Kriti Sanon was fine. I don't know what it is about this woman. Like, I'm just never blown away by her. And this is going to sound extremely bitchy, and I apologize in advance, but I think her playing a robot was perfect because she's kind of robotic anyway.
I mean, I was thinking it before you said it. Although I did really like her in Crew. I would
I
say
liked
that
her in
that's
Crew as
probably
well.
my favorite of her performances.
Yeah.
I was just looking at Maddox Films and she's in
Mm.
7 movies with them,
She's
Kriti. So
done a lot of movies with them.
she's really one of their favorite, their kind of house staples or whatever.
Yeah.
Um, is she better as a robot than Amy Jackson is in Endiron
I've
2?
not seen Indiran, so I do not know how
Oh,
good or
that's
bad Amy
right. You hadn't
Jackson
seen the
is.
first one either.
I
Yeah.
actually have not seen Amy Jackson in any movie ever.
Oh,
Because she mostly does South movies, right?
yeah.
See, I
Yeah.
don't watch South movies that much, so I have no idea who this person is. Like I know their face, but that's about
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Was she good or bad in Indiran? I couldn't tell from your comment.
That was I actually walked out of the theater
Oh.
for that movie. Not solely the movie's fault. It was extremely cold. I had a lot going on. I
Yeah.
couldn't stick the length of it.
Hmm.
And I was by myself. So I'm like, I'll just watch
Yeah.
it later. Um, she's not the main problem with it, but I don't think she's
Okay.
great. For me, the major film I like her in, not that I've seen many, is which I was telling you about with
Oh.
Vikram.
Hmm.
So I would recommend that one, but not for her. But she's fine in that, I guess. But yeah,
Okay.
I don't, she doesn't, she's not a thing that's going to get me to a movie for sure.
Right.
And
It's
neither is
not
Kriti. I
exactly
have to say, like,
right.
even as Kriti's career is obviously going great gangbusters, it seems, but I don't dislike her. I just don't have much to say.
Yeah, it's kind of that same effect that like Kiara Advani has on me, where it's kind of like
Yeah.
I like them, I guess, but I also don't really like them. Like I think they're fine.
Mm,
I will say I think Kiara is better in the sense that I really liked her in Satya Prem Ki Katha, and I thought that one or two of the really big emotional scenes that she had in Jug Jug Jio, she really pulled those off.
mhm,
So I have slightly more hopes from her. But again, it's the blandness. There's this kind of like this vanilla energy that they both have. But I think Kriti's blandness and vanilla energy probably contributed to her doing this role because she certainly was quite robotic. And at points I was like, I don't know if you're acting or not, but it's working for me. Shahid was interesting. You know, I've never understood why I'm not a Shahid Kapoor fan because he is such a tremendous actor. I love him in Haider.
Mhm.
I love him in Kamine. He is so talented. He's the only thing I liked about Padmavat, which is an absolutely hideous film. Um, so I don't understand. Like, I also don't understand why he's not a huge superstar, because he's decent looking. He's an exceptional dancer. He's really good as an actor as well. But I don't understand why he's never like really become a superstar. There's something fringe about him, I think, and I don't know what it is. I will say that him and Kriti Sanon have a very strange chemistry in this movie. Like, it's supposed to be a romantic film, and they almost have like a sibling vibe. It's very strange. Like, and I feel like Shahid is trying in this movie. He's like doing his best, but she's just not bringing it for whatever reason. And it's just kind of like, to use a very Mumbai term, it's very thanda. The whole effect is thanda. And I was just kind of like, I'm not getting much here. It's just kind of like, even the songs that they have, like they have this title song that Shahid dances really well in, because like he's such a good dancer.
Yeah.
Even the song is just kind of thanda. I'm like, okay, everything in this movie is very thanda. So I wouldn't necessarily recommend this film and be like, people need to run out and watch Teri Baaton Mein Aise Uljha Jiya. Um, but I do want to give kudos for at least coming up with an interesting concept. People who grew up in India are probably familiar with this American show that was called Small Wonder. Have you ever seen it? I never hear Americans
Girl,
talk about
yes.
it,
Yeah,
but
I
Indian
remember it
people love it.
existing. Yeah, I have been shocked by this as I learn more about kind of Indian media in the 80s and 90s.
Yeah.
So like I'm continually baffled by how strong a love there is in India of Friends, but
And Archie's.
and yeah, and Archie's, but Small Wonder is the weirdest of them to me because that was a show I remember watching a little bit, but I think we all thought it was bad at the time. I don't think it was on TV for terribly long, if I
Okay.
recall. And maybe it was just because of how old I was when it came out, but I think I remember kind of making fun of it even with my little like primary school friends. Like we were not
Right.
I was not even in middle school, I think, when it came out. So like I wasn't old enough to have too much of an opinion about media, but like I remember
Right.
making, but yeah, someone told me once that that was a big deal in India, and I was baffled. Baffled.
I've never seen it in India because I didn't grow up in India. And so by
Yeah.
the time I actually moved to India, Small Wonder was no longer on, on TV. But I know so many people who love Small Wonder. And even on Instagram and stuff, occasionally some like, meme page or whatever will talk about like TV shows that they loved when they were growing up. And Small Wonder always makes an entry. And I'm like, I want to watch at least one episode of this thing just to understand what the big deal is. But Indian people love Small Wonder, and I have no idea why. It just
I'm
comes across as very like slow and boring to me, but I don't know.
I mean, a
I
lot of
think it's the cute
80s
kid.
80s sitcoms are really rough. And even ones that I think have held up fairly well, like Family Ties is my favorite of them that
Mm,
I've rewatched as a, more modern person. But even that, I mean, the acting style is so different. As we've talked about with various older things. But yeah, okay, Small Wonder was on in 1985.
mm.
So 1985 to 1989. Okay, so I was in sixth grade for my
So
American
only four
Friends.
years.
Yeah. Oh God, that show
Okay.
was bad. Oh,
It's very popular. People
yeah.
love it. And when I was reading up some reviews on Teri Baat Mein Aise, so for those of you who are living under a rock and have no idea what the show is, apparently Small Wonder was about this like little girl. She's very cute. I did see clips and she was kind of adorable and precocious. And she's actually a robot. And she lives with this family and stuff. I don't know what the backstory is. Like, why does she live with this family? Is her dad a scientist or something? I have no idea.
Of course, the
Um,
dad is a scientist.
Oh, is
Yes.
that what it is? Like, so does he bring her
Mhm.
home like she's his
Yeah.
project or something?
Yeah. Yeah, I think so.
Oh, okay.
Wikipedia is telling me this show was a huge hit, especially with children, and it ran in a lot of foreign countries I mean,
Yeah.
foreign to America. So yeah, shows
Yeah.
you what I know.
Yeah, it's just I mean, I have seen some clips and I feel like it's the cuteness of that little girl, because a lot of like child stars are annoying, and she's not annoying. She's kind of like cute and adorable. So I think that's where it was coming from. Also because it was like PG-13 or whatever. I think Indian parents were probably comfortable letting their kids watch it. So
Sure.
that's probably why it became a hit. But so when I was looking up like reviews of Teri Baat Mein Aise Uljha Jiya, Small Wonder was referenced so much in all the Indian reviews that I read, where people said that they felt
Huh.
like it was, very reminiscent of that. And one or two people said that they would rather just rewatch episodes of Small Wonder rather than watch this movie, where I was like,
Ooh, that
okay.
to me is harsh, but I clearly don't feel about Small Wonder the way a lot of people
Right.
feel about. Oh,
Sometimes that's so weird for me because, like, my American friends will reference stuff that they grew up watching, and then my Indian friends
yeah.
will reference things that they grew up watching, and I watch none of that stuff. So
Yeah.
in Nigeria, we basically had two TV channels. We had NTA to Channel 5. It was called Channel 5. So it was Nigerian Television Authority, Channel 5. And we had BBC Africa. That's it, two channels. And so NTA to Channel 5 had a lot of like Nigerian local programming that I would watch. And the only syndicated American shows we had were Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, which I loved. I loved
Classic.
Will Smith. So
Yep.
good. Fresh Fresh Prince of Bel-Air was amazing. And we also used to get Cosby Show and A Different World, and they were back to back. So it
Loved
was like you
those.
would watch. So that was kind of my programming that I was allowed to watch, and they came on different days. So every time I would sit with like my glass of like strawberry milk, and I would watch Cosby Show followed by Different World, and it was great. And then TV time was done. And then on, I think, Wednesdays and Thursdays or something, we got Fresh Prince of Bel Air, and I was allowed to watch that. So that was all I watched. And then when I grew older during my teenage years, we started getting Beverly Hills 90210, and I was obsessed.
Yeah.
Everyone in the show was so good looking. And I was like, is this? I literally was like that 13-year-old that was like, does everyone in America look like this? And do they all wear these clothes? And do they all like take convertibles to these fancy colleges? Like, because it was a high school, but I thought it was
Yeah.
college because we call high school junior college. And
Mhm.
and I had the biggest crush on everyone in that show. And I thought that that's what America was like. So imagine my disappointment when I moved to Chicago, and I'm as an adult, but as a young adult, and I'm looking around and I'm like, okay, but where's the people in the swimsuits in the ocean? I was very disappointed. And it was only when I finally made a trip to LA that I was very happy. I was like, okay, this is what I was promised. This is not what I was given.
I am 1 year older than the kids in 90210.
Oh,
So
okay.
like graduation class wise now, obviously a lot of those
Yeah, yeah,
actors were well above the teenage years.
yeah.
And I hated it when it first came out because I was way too like cool for that.
Okay.
But and for me to be cool is really saying something here. But like by
Right.
cool, I mean like theater kid, like I
Yeah,
look
yeah.
down on those kind of bubbly things. But
You
obviously it
would
was
have
a very
liked
soapy thing.
the character that was the newspaper editor.
Andrea, of course, she was
Yeah.
my favorite. Yeah, of
And she
course.
was so much older, actually. Wasn't she like
So
30
much
years
older.
old
Yeah,
when she was
yeah.
cast? Yeah.
I just want to put in a plug for a really wonderful podcast called Again with This, which
Okay.
goes episode by episode through Beverly Hills 90210. And the hosts have also written a book, which is really enjoyable about the show. So if you like 90210 or want to revisit it or even learn what all the fuss was about originally, like it's a really good show and it's very funny. And they do a lot of audio clips of the show. So
I would probably love it. I actually,
fun.
about like a year or two ago, I decided I wanted to watch 90210 in its entirety. And
Hmm.
I think I watched like 4 or 5 episodes, and then I kind of like fell off the bandwagon because it's so soapy.
It's so soapy. Yeah,
It's
it's a
so
soap.
ridiculously soapy,
Yeah.
but it's also very fun and it's very pretty.
Yeah.
But I couldn't with the storylines anymore. I was like, okay, I got my fill, 4 or 5 episodes, I'm done. But yeah. So Teri Baaton Mein Se Uljha Jiya, and then I also watched another Madak Films movie, which is Zara Hatke Zara Bachke. It has Vicky Kaushal and Sara, and it just came out on Einthusen as well. And this movie was very, very, very disappointing and also very infuriating. And I'm very upset that this movie became a big hit because it did not deserve to be a hit because it is terrible. Um,
Oh.
it's such a, I mean, the concept I think is kind of interesting, not as interesting as Teri Baaton Mein Aisa Uljha Jiya, but so Sarah and Vicky are a happily married couple and they live in a joint family in Indore, and they have no privacy whatsoever. And there's all these like relatives and everything. And Sarah really, really wants to wants them to move out into their own home, like their own apartment or something, but like they can't really afford to, because she's like a tuition teacher and he's like a yoga instructor, so it's like they don't really have the money for it.
Yeah.
And so they decide to participate in this scheme that's like a government housing scheme that's going to let
Ah.
them, like they can win, but then they have to do all these shenanigans because they don't really qualify, because it's like an affordable housing scheme, they don't really qualify for that,
Oh.
so they have to do these shenanigans to get it. And the so far so good. Vicky Ghoshall's acting is nice. The whole small town setting, I'm just really kind of over it at this point, but that's not necessarily the producer and the director's fault. That's just me being
Right.
tired of the whole small town thing.
Right.
Vicky Ghoshal, I think, does a decent job, but there's only so much he can do. What I really have an issue with is the script. So
Mm,
this movie does the same thing that Tu Jhuti Main Makar did, which really pissed me off, which in Tu Jhuti Main Makar, have you seen it?
no.
Okay, good. Don't watch it.
Ha
In
ha ha.
Tujhti Main Makar, Shraddha does not want to live in a joint family, which Ranveer Kapoor lives in a joint family. His mom is Dimple Kapadia, extremely
Right.
miscast as a loud, obnoxious Punjabi mom because it's not believable.
Yeah.
And this whole movie is about them like not wanting to be together but also wanting to be together, and at the end of that movie the whole family convinces Shraddha Kapoor at the airport, of course, how she should be part of their life and part of their family. And Ranbir Kapoor's whole shtick in this thing is like, you can't just love me, you have to love my whole family. So this entire movie basically gaslights women into thinking that they are selfish and wrong for wanting to have their own home. And I'm so over this bullshit.
No, no.
Women have been told this since the beginning of time. And the reason that so many Indian women absolutely do not want to live in joint families, like literally, I have cousins and I have friends who, when they were of marriageable age, literally their hard line was, I will not live in a joint family. I will not live with my spouse's parents. We will live separately. We can live in the same
Mm,
neighborhood, or we could even live in like our apartment buildings can be next to each other, but I'm not living under the same roof.
yeah.
And it really got to the point where Indian men of a certain age in the big cities were complaining about the fact that they couldn't get married because all the women were like, we don't want to live in a joint family. And my mom also is a strong proponent for, young couples should never live in joint families, because she said all of this whole like patriarchal society, all of that pressure is going to fall on the young woman. She's going to be made to
Mm,
kowtow to everything, and it's just going to destroy your marriage, and you're just not going to have a life. So my mom is also extremely like anti joint family. And both of these movies do the same bullshit where the woman is portrayed as the bad guy for wanting to have, wanting to have an abode that is her own.
okay.
Mind you, neither of these characters, neither Shraddha Kapoor in Tu Jhuti Main Makar nor Sara Ali Khan in Zara Hatke Zara Bachke is saying, I hate your family. They suck. I don't want to have anything to do with them. I never want to talk to them. You can't talk to them either. These are not some horrible, abusive women who want to cut their husband off, right?
Right.
All they're saying is, I would like for us to live in our own home where I actually have some autonomy, where I can do everything from decorate it the way I want, to have the kind of routine and schedule that I want, to
Mm,
have the privacy that I want without your stupid 5-year-old nephew coming and snuggling up with us in the same bed. Literally, in Zara Hatke Zara Bachke, Sarah and Vicky have so little privacy that they have to book a room in a lodge, like presumably just to have sex.
yeah.
And apparently, no one associated with this film, either the cast or crew, seems to think that that's ridiculous. And so at the end of this movie, Sara Ali Khan realizes her mistake. And in a very heartfelt, emotional scene, she and Vicky Kaushal both repent about the fact that they wanted to do something as terrible as wanting to live separately. Both of these movies are just bullshit and nonsense, and they both became hits, and all they do is cater to Indian mamas boys. I'm going to trigger a lot of Indian people by saying this. They do is cater to Indian mamas boys who refuse to cut the umbilical cord, and they cater to their families who think that a woman just has to like give up everything, and she has
Mm-hmm.
no right to any physical space of her own.
Mm.
And so it just is very infuriating to me. It's not just that these are stupid movies. They're stupid movies and they're bad movies, but
Yeah.
they're also movies that gaslight an entire generation of women who do not freaking want to live under their in-laws' thumb. And all they do is that they make Indian men and their moms think that the woman is wrong for saying that. And this is why we need more women writers in Bollywood, and we need more people to like.
Yeah.
I don't understand why the likes of Shraddha Kapoor, Ranbir Kapoor, Vicky Kaushal, and Sara Ali Khan sign up to do these kind of stupid films. Like Sara Ali
Right.
Khan is an educated person. She went to Columbia. I'm pretty sure she's not going to live in a joint family
Yeah.
if she gets married. It's
Yeah.
like, why are you doing these stupid films?
Ugh.
So I was just so irritated. Do not watch either of these films, Beth. But I really found it very, very annoying.
I'm just kind of thinking about Maddox films and like
Yeah,
that's not really their typical. I would
it's
have to
not.
really think through their stuff to be like, do I think they have a typical thing? But if they did, it's not this.
It's not this. I mean, this is
Mm.
more in line with like the whole Burjatya thing, where it's like, let's
Right.
never upset the status quo in families, everything, and how
Right.
dare a woman have ideas of her own? Good
Right.
Lord. It's this doesn't feel Maddox to me, which is why I'm so irritated, I think.
Mm.
Because it's almost like I expect better.
Yeah.
Again, I don't necessarily have like a strong opinion of Maddox films beyond the fact that I love their horror universe. I love their
Sure.
whole like Stree and Bhedia thing. And they're coming out with another horror comedy, which is called Munjia, which I'm looking
Mm.
forward to seeing because I love horror. Um, and so I'm just kind of like, why the hell would you do this bullshit? But like, seriously, that end scene where it's like almost like she realizes her mistake. And I think unless I'm so angry that I didn't pay attention, I think there's almost a line where she said something to the effect of how selfish I was to think this way and not realize. I was like,
Good
girl,
Lord.
I was like, somebody give me like a pebble so I can throw it at my laptop. I didn't because I need my laptop to record podcasts and stuff. But I was very close. It was very infuriating. So I really want to hear from people who have watched Zara Hatke Zara
Yeah.
Bachke. I assume many people have because the movie did become, it was like an decent hit, I think, not like a blockbuster, but they
Yeah.
definitely recouped their money. I really want to see what people think about this BS because it is BS. So
Mm.
over being gaslit. No, thank you.
Mm.
um Anyway, that is my irritation. Budhima is very annoyed right now. So what else did you watch, Adi Ben?
Uh, Trimurti, which I know you love. Oh, I should have let you had your water first before.
Yay! Kuka!
Guy is amazing. A villain in a rolling office chair is one of the best things I've ever seen.
Yes.
I loved. I'm completely not going to remember the name of the song where Shah Rukh is dancing around with the villains. Like that's
So
really
good.
great.
Bol bhole bol tujhko kya
Yeah,
chahiye.
there you go.
Oh, so good.
Lovely energy among the brothers.
The bromance.
Yeah, I thought it was great fun.
So for people who have not seen Trimurti, which is such a good movie and everybody should watch it, it is so much fun. Please tell them what the story is and please tell them who the cast is.
Oh gosh, so you have three brothers, Jackie Shroff, Anil Kapoor, and Shah Rukh, and their
None of
mother.
whom look like brothers.
No, but that doesn't. We don't care about that. Um, their mother is a police officer who, in her pursuit of a bad guy, is sent to jail, and I can't
Mm.
remember why. Is she framed?
I think she's framed.
I think she's framed. And the bad guys have killed her husband, so these children have no one. Um, and the two older ones, Jackie and Anil, kind of disagree over what should happen, and Anil runs off and joins becomes a thug basically.
Mhm.
Um, and then Jackie raises little baby Shah Rukh, oh, so
So
cute. And then we fast forward, and Jackie is what in the army, of course. Shah Rukh is off at college. I don't remember what he wants to do with his life. I don't know if it matters. He is in love with the daughter of another bad guy, right?
yeah.
or at
Nagma,
least a not great guy.
right?
And Ano, of course, is in cahoots with the bad villains that like killed their mother and whatever, but they all, of course, realize it and then they unite and
Yes.
take care of things. So it's really fun. I don't even remember it being particularly violent despite its era.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think it's really fun. I don't know how I hadn't watched this yet, but I'm closing in on finally seeing all of Shah Rukh's films, and this was a
Yeah.
really, really fun one.
I feel like it's a very underrated movie because it's kind of like people who love Trimurti. I'm one of those people.
No.
And then there's people who don't really know much of Trimurti. And I'm like, how have you not seen this movie? It is literally one of the best films ever. Um, I actually know someone who thinks that Trimurti and Tridev are the best films of all time. And I'm like, okay, I don't actually disagree that much. Like, I won't fight them, is what I'm
Huh,
saying.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and then Kuka is one of the best villains ever in Bollywood. I think he's played by Mohan Agashe,
Correct.
and his costumes are wonderful. He wears these wonderful kaftans, and he's a tantric, which is my absolute number
Yes.
one favorite kind of villain.
Yes, he's great. He's
He's so
great.
good.
He's
He
really over
reminds
the top.
me,
It's really
he's
enjoyable.
over the top. His eye makeup is so good, and his hair, and the trident that he carries around, and his beads. I mean, whoever styled Kuka, they are a fashion icon because Kuka is a fashion
Seriously.
icon. He's like a mashup between Mogambo, like Amrish Puri Mogambo, and also Mugatu from Zoolander.
Yeah, and then like a little bit, he wears kind of a lot of like furs and stuff
Yeah,
too, right? So then he kind of gives um Ranveer Singh, right?
yeah,
In those kind of ooh,
yeah.
so uncivilized kind of thing.
Exactly. And you can tell he's having so much fun. Like every time Mohan Agashe comes on screen, you can tell he's giddy with delight because Mohan Agashe is like a very esteemed like theater
Hmm.
actor, and he's done some extremely serious, like hard-hitting Marathi movies, like parallel films. And so then to see him in this, just having a blast, is like really cute. And his chemistry with Shah Rukh is so good. It's
Yeah,
like amazing. Less said about Shah Rukh's chemistry with Nagma, the better. They are very odd together.
not the best.
No. This movie also has a song that I love to hate, which is Jahan Ki Nahi Hai Tumhari Aankhein, where Shah Rukh and Nagma are together on the bicycle. She's wearing a chiffon sari, and the song is sung by Neil Nitin Mukesh. No, it's sung by Nitin Mukesh, who really takes the nasalness to a whole new level. It's like, are you singing or are you whistling? I can't even tell anymore. It is horrific, and I think we should add that in our comments so that in our description so that people can go and listen to it. It's a very bad song. Um,
It's not Nagma, is it?
it is Nagma, isn't it?
Anjali Jathar.
Oh, Anjali Jatar. But
Jathar.
but Shah Rukh and Nagma are in another movie though, where they have this song. Is that not from Trimurti? Then let me Google it. Is
90s are a
Jahan Ki?
big blur, y'all,
They are a big blur.
especially when you're Andy Ben.
Yeah. Okay, is jahan ki nahi hai tumhari aankhein. Oh, it's from King Uncle. It's from King Uncle, which is
Ah,
also an excellent movie.
that's still on my list. I
King
believe
Uncle
I've
is
talked
also,
about how like the name makes me go, huh?
yeah. The whole movie will make you go, huh? The movie
Okay.
makes no sense. It's by Rakesh Roshan, and
Ah,
typically I enjoy Rakesh Roshan films due to the crocodiles and all of that.
sure.
But King Uncle does not make much sense. It is not. I would not say it's very rewatchable unless one thinks about this terrible Nagma and Shah Rukh Khan song. But I feel like you should watch King Uncle, and then with Trimurti and King Uncle, your 90s knowledge will be like you'll be omniscient.
I also would just like to add that I seem to be on a streak not only with Ranjit but with Syed Joffrey. He's in everything I watch lately, and of course he's in this, and it's very enjoyable. So
He's always haughty dad, always. Like he's just
haughty
always
dad, or like,
haughty.
but sometimes he's kindly uncle, right? Like in
Yeah.
Ram Terry Ganga Mili, he's
Uh,
kindly uncle. Um, but he's reliable. Whatever it is he's doing,
yeah.
he's very reliable as a performer, I feel.
My favorite Saeed Jaffrey, Mother Jaffrey combo has got to be in Sagar, where he's poor and she's rich, and he's sad and she's mean, and they have this like showdown, which is like so interesting to watch. It's so electrifying. Like Badr Shafri, she's scary. So
Mm.
she has like a very scary, like stentorian energy about her. So it's actually like an enjoyable scene in Sagar. Um, how did you find Jackie in this movie? Because I think you said in the past that you don't really get Jackie's
Yeah, I
charm,
still
right?
don't get it. I like him okay, but like his sort of mega stardom does puzzle
Yeah.
me still. But sometimes not everything is for everyone, and that's okay. But no,
Yeah.
I he doesn't make me go, why is he in this or anything like
Right.
that. Like I enjoy him. I think he's reliably, he's solid.
Yeah.
Um, he it is a hard thing to be saddled with being the elder responsible brother in any kind of masala film, right? Like, so Vinod Khanna has to do it. I'm always like, ugh, you are underusing this great man. Like, and so I suspect Jackie Shroff is somewhat underused in this film.
Mm,
I find him somewhat underused in Roop Kirani,
mm.
Charan Karaja, for example, which I love. Um,
He's
so
also
I
elder brother in Ram Lakhan, where Anil
sure,
gets to do the hijinks and
yeah.
he has to be the.
So I need some films where he is doing the hijinks, I think.
Yeah.
I did watch Hero
Mm.
sometime in the last year or so, finally, and I was like, okay, I think I get it. But um, yeah,
He's also in Tridev, and then he. Okay, he's not quite the older brother. Have you seen Khalnayak?
yes, but it's been a
Okay,
while.
so he's not like the older brother in Khalnaik, but really, if you look at the way his role is written, he's this very like straight and narrow on the
Yeah,
honest path. It's kind of that same vibe where he has to be the adult in the situation, and Sanjay Dutt
right.
gets to be the crazy one.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I think that is definitely like a niche that Jackie has, where that's the thing. Doesn't he? Isn't he also kind of doing the same thing in Parinda as well? No. Yes. I can't remember. But I feel like that's like a Jackie thing. But I like Jackie. I think he's very gorgeous. It's completely superficial. Like I don't think he's like a great actor or anything like that. He's just so gorgeous. He's good eye candy to look at. So every time him and Vinod kind of come on screen, I'm like, I don't really need you to do anything. Just stand and brood, and
They're
I'll
both
just ogle
tall.
you.
Tall people get away with stuff that the rest of us
Yeah.
cannot.
Wait, you're tall.
I'm not that tall. Like I'm not even 5'8". So for an
I'm five
American,
two. I'm
yeah, I
five
mean for an
two.
American woman, I'm not tall. But yeah, it's
Christy
like
used to
it's
call
a
me a shrimp.
oh, it's a specific form of a, kind of pretty privilege, I guess, to be tall. But yeah,
Well, they're tall and they're ruggedly handsome,
sure.
which is also like a specific thing,
Yes.
right? Like Amitabh has that same thing. I mean, I wouldn't call Amitabh handsome, but he's tall and rugged at least. But he's not even rugged. He's kind of lanky, isn't he? Well, I guess he's
Yeah, I
tall.
wouldn't call him rugged, but yeah,
No,
he's
he's
definitely
not.
tall.
He's tall.
Definitely tall. Commanding, yes. Rugged,
Yeah.
maybe not, but
So, interesting tangent because I'm all about tangents. Because you said when you see Jackie, you suddenly don't have this reaction where you're like, "Ugh, why are you in this?" So, who gives you that feeling where you're like, "Ugh,
oh,
why?"
well, oh gosh. Well, I mean, it's been a couple months since I said this, but I usually feel that way about Katrina.
Ah, yes.
There must be many others, and I'm just not thinking of them. This is a more niche, but like a lot of the comedy uncles,
I'm with you on that.
but it's not them. It's the fact that that role exists at all.
Yeah.
And so while there are, like I think I'm on record as saying Rajendranath is my most favorite of all those guys.
Mm,
Johnny Lever, I usually don't want to see, but every now and again I'm like, oh, even I found that funny. And like
right.
obviously quick verbal stuff, like I'm not going to get it. So I understand, but like Asrani and Jagdeep, like, oh,
Yeah.
and it's not their fault, really. I don't think it's the role.
Yeah.
There are a lot of those kind of guys.
I find Paresh Rawal particularly grating in the comedy uncle roles.
He's not my favorite.
Yeah. I mean, I like him in Hera Fairy, but
Right.
apart from his role in Hera Fairy, like when he does those tiny comedy bits, he's very grating.
Anupam Kher is a mixed bag for me. Like sometimes I think he's really good, and sometimes I think he's way overdoing it in a way that I don't like.
Yeah. He's
Um,
very
th
shrill.
yeah, there must be hero actors that I feel this way about, and I'm just not. Oh, well, I mean, we talked about this at length during Korra. Like Biswajit, if we're
Yeah.
talking about heroes. Um, our recent exploration of Ranbir Kapoor has made him go up in my estimation. He was almost at that level for me.
Yeah.
Maybe not quite that bad, but who else is on who for like lead men who makes you go, ugh, why are you in this?
Ugh, Rajendra Kumar.
Sure.
The worst, the absolute worst. Every time I see him, I'm like, ugh, why? And he's always paired with these absolutely stunning women. Like they're so good. They're like 10 on 10. It is the definition of she's Barbie, he's just Ken. Like he's not
Mm.
even Ken. He's like minus Ken. So he's the worst. I've never understood how that man became Jubilee Kumar because he can't act. He has very, very bad
Oh,
acting talent.
Manoj Kumar, of
Oh
course.
my
Why did it
God.
take me so long to think of that?
Yes. But the only thing I will say about Manoj Kumar is that his movies are so specific and his
Yes,
movies, just as a general rule, do not appeal to me. So I
right.
never bother watching them. So
Yeah,
it's okay.
that's fair.
The Rajendra Kumar problem is worse because Rajendra Kumar did not have a niche per se. He did romances, he did family dramas, he did all sorts of different things, right? And then I'm kind of like, ooh, this movie has Vedha Rahman. I want to watch it. Ooh, this movie has Vijayanti Mala. I want to watch it. And then I'm like, who's the co-star? And I'm like, oh, it's Rajendra Kumar. Why? So I think he is like terrible. Joy Mukherjee was pretty terrible, I thought.
He's on my list too.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
just kind of like what, but I don't hate him as much as I hate
Right.
Rajendra Kumar. Rajendra Kumar has to be the worst. Um and then a lot of the later actors like I don't really care for. Like I won't watch things with Salman in it because he's so annoying and he can't act. Um even if the actress is one that I want to watch, I don't
Mm,
really want to watch Salman. So then I'm like, fine, whatever, I guess. Um, no one else that I feel particularly strongly about, I
no,
think.
me neither. I'm sure there's
No,
someone I'm forgetting, but yeah, overall, it's not that many people, but
yeah, it's not that many
or at
people.
least it's not that many leads.
I think the leads just have to be a certain level of skill. Like they have to have at least some amount of acting talent, looks, charisma to the point that they
Something.
appeal
Yeah.
to the
Yeah.
vast majority of people. So I think that's why the leads tend not to be too bad. I think it's people who play these other things that tend to be kind of awful.
Yeah.
Um, I've never really gotten Hema Malini's appeal, I guess, as in the lead category. She's someone like I don't hate her, but I've also never seen a movie of Hema Malini's where I was like, wow, you're awesome. No one could have done this. Like I like her just fine in Sholay. I think that is
Mhm.
probably my number one Hema Malini role, where she plays
Mm,
Basanti. But even that, it's not like no one else could have done it.
right.
So it's kind of like, okay, so what exactly do you bring to the table? Um, Not the biggest fan of Devanand personally. Later Devanand, color TV Devanand,
A
that does
different
not do
story.
much for me. And again, it's the same problem. It's like he'll do movies with Zeenat Aman or Tina Muneem, and I want to watch those movies for them. But then I'm like, okay, but I'm gonna have to tolerate him for 2.5 hours. Can I do that?
Sure.
And then it's like, probably not. Oh, Sanjay Khan, another terrible actor.
Sure.
Feroz, I love. Sanjay, I'm just kind of like, why?
Yeah.
But he didn't do a lot of movies, so it was okay. But I think Rajendra Kumar is just someone whose stardom I will never understand. There's just no way. I'll never get it.
Yeah.
What else did you watch? You watched
Well, I forgot that when you said Feroz Khan just then, I was like, oh yeah, I'm partway through a film
Mhm.
that he's in called Jadoo Tona,
Okay.
which is a 70s kind of horror film that's basically The Exorcist,
That sounds
kind
like
of.
my cup of tea. You don't really watch horror.
Well, and I have seen this film before. I forget why, but I'm
Okay.
going to be writing about it sometime soon. And
Okay.
he plays the doctor who's trying to help this poor possessed little girl.
Hmm.
And he's a pilot and he wears his shirts unbuttoned halfway down. And he's a psychiatrist.
Wait,
And
he's a psychiatrist and a pilot.
yes,
Okay. Sure.
we're not going to ask too many questions.
Is he also a supermodel perchance?
Not yet. I'm only halfway
Okay.
through because I don't remember it very well from my previous
Is he a
watch.
Casanova?
A little bit. Um, and the police inspector working on this case is Ashok Kumar. And
Okay.
that is a weird combo to me somehow. Like, and then Prem Chopra is also there as the dad of the little girl who's possessed.
Okay.
And these are three mighty figures, right? But like somehow, I'm not saying it's bad, but I am just puzzled when any combination of those three is on screen. I don't, it's like, it's not like they're all in slightly different films, but they're just bringing very different energies that don't like mesh. And obviously, Prem Chopra is usually a villain. So seeing
Yeah.
him as this sort of beleaguered, bewildered, distraught father is really weird. It's good, but it's weird. And then Feroz Khan comes in doing his like, basically what he always does, except somehow he's a psychiatrist. Like he's not even a
Right.
hotshot surgeon, he's a psychiatrist. That's weird. And then Ashok Kumar is kind of like comedy uncle, but also the inspector, and his name is
Oh
Jolly
God.
Goodnight or something like that. And he's always abbreviating everything, and no one knows what his abbreviations stand for. So he has to tell them. So like he says to Prem Chopra when he comes to their house, nice ID. And he says ID, and he goes interior design or
Oh
interior
my
decor or whatever.
gosh.
And you're like, was this funny? But you know, so anyway, it's a trip, and kind of the effects of the little girl being possessed and all are very entertaining. She does
Yeah.
vomit at the screen, so like
Oh,
that's a thing. There's a creepy cat. There's a guy in a
okay.
skeleton suit. There's a lot of evil cackling.
Hmm.
Mm, so far, so
That,
good.
I mean, it actually sounds good to me. Also, am I crazy? But I feel like I would like Feroz Khan to be my psychiatrist
I
or a
suspect
life coach at least.
life coach is a little different, and I would get that because he's
Yeah.
obviously living life well. So he's giving a little bit of the shotgun as the doctor in Agale
Mm.
Lagja. Somehow there's like
Oh
so much
God.
swagger, and you're like, we know that like certain doctors do that and everything. It's just very funny in this.
Do they?
Thing.
I've never seen a doctor with swagger. They all just look very like pressed for time.
Well, there's that. I think some surgeons, right, are very hot
Okay.
shot, but not in my personal experience. Fortunately, I've not had to have any kind of surgery of that nature.
Right.
But yeah, so I'm watching that, and I think people who like horror should watch it if they have not. It's by the director who did Suraksha and Wardat, the myth and spy
Okay.
films that I enjoy so much. Ravikant Nagaich, I don't know how to say his last name.
Okay.
um this man has a big career, and I've been trying to find some of his films to watch. So this one came up. It is on YouTube with subtitles in a god awful print, but at least there are
Oh.
subtitles, so
Is it
do
a worse
watch.
print than Fauji?
It's about that level. It might be
Oh
even worse,
God.
actually.
Okay. Interesting. I'm very curious. I'm so curious about Feroz Khan as a psychiatrist, but also he's a pilot and also he wears his shirts halfway unbuttoned. Does he smoke a cigar or anything?
I don't believe I've seen him smoking
Because
yet.
Shatru was smoking in hospitals
He
in Agale
probably
Lagja.
he must maybe he was and I missed it. He's definitely, having a drink with Rena Roy is the older sister of the girl who's possessed, and so they're gonna become an item, I think. And
Oh,
that's kind of a fun combo. Like they're both so
yeah.
70s stylish,
Yeah.
Um, I don't know if it's
How
gonna come to
strange.
be relevant that he's a pilot. I suspect not.
Okay. It's just a Feroz Khan thing.
It's a
I
first
suppose he also
thing.
races horses on Sundays because why not?
I mean, he might.
He is the king of why not? Like, you know how they say there's two kinds of people in the world, the people who always say why and the people who say why not? Feroz Khan is the king of why not. Like, you say that's an outlandish idea, and Feroz Khan says, why would that be an outlandish idea?
Right.
Why not? Why can't I do this? And you're
Yep.
like, because it makes no sense,
Yep.
sir. And he's like, what is sense anyway?
Exactly. Sense is what I say it is. Hold
Yeah,
hold my drink.
exactly.
Hold my helicopter keys.
Oh, to have Feroz Khan's confidence and swagger. It would
Seriously.
be great. Yeah.
Seriously.
What else did I watch? Oh, I finally started watching Ted Lasso. I'm very late to this party. My
Aw.
friends have been nagging me to watch it. Like, I finally caved because I got so tired of the constant nagging that I was like, fine, I'll start a trial of Apple TV and I'll try to watch it. And we have already binged through the first two seasons and we're in the third season, and I'm absolutely in love with Jason Sudeikis. I don't know how to say his last name. He is so adorable. He has such golden retriever energy, so
Yep.
cute. Also, the woman who plays Rebecca, Hannah Waddingham or whatever,
Yeah, she's
she's a
amazing.
goddess.
Yeah.
Every time she comes on screen, I just like, I gasp. She is so
Speaking of tall.
wonderful. Yes. She's just so stunning. And I love her entire wardrobe, her like organza pussy bow shirts, and then, her fitted mini skirts, and I mean, her fitted like skirts and her hair, just everything about this woman. Like the way she drinks her tea in her like clear cup. She's adorable. And I love the representation in this movie. My favorite character is
Mm,
Sam Obisanya because he's Nigerian.
yeah.
And I love that he is meant to be a Nigerian player. And there's all these also like points for accuracy, because a lot of the things he mentions about Lagos, or he mentions about Nigeria,
Mm,
or they show his dad, like everything was like on point. I was like, they're gonna mess up. They're gonna show his dad, and his dad is not going to pass off as a Nigerian, or his outfit is gonna be wrong. Nope, it was perfectly on point. And I love that he started a restaurant called Ola's, which is Ola is a very common name. And I was just like, it just made my heart happy.
aw,
And all the other characters in it, I love that guy. Who is this super grumpy guy?
yes,
Roy Kent.
Roy
He is
Kent. He's
hysterical.
my favorite.
He is so funny. I love him in his horrible tie-dye shirt that his niece makes him wear. It's just such a good, like, feel good show, and it's so sweet. And it's like, also, I don't understand what kind of personality transplant happened to Nathan, because as I was watching this show,
Yeah,
I loved Nathan in season 1,
yeah.
and then I don't know what happened, and now I hate Nathan, and I don't understand what's happening. But I would highly recommend Ted Lasso to people who have not watched it. It's a little hard to find because it's on Apple TV. I don't know how many people have that. Jason Sudeikis basically plays an American coach from Kansas, and he moves to the UK. So Priya, my cousin, she said that Ted Lasso was actually shot right behind her office,
Ah,
but she did not know. She'd not heard of this show. Like, it was like the pilot or whatever. And she
oh,
was so
wow.
sad, because if she'd known, she'd have like gone over to like talk
Yeah.
to those people. But yeah, so he's an American coach who goes to England, and he's in charge of this like Premier League football team. And it's really fun. It's really cute. So yeah, that's what I've been watching. And then next on my list of things, okay, so I want to watch these 3 Italian movies by, I'm going to tell you the director's name. It's Michelangelo. I think it's Michelangelo Antonioni. But there's these 3 Italian movies that he made, and I think all 3 starred Alain Delon, the French actor, and then there was Monica Vitti, and it's like, what are they called? Michelangelo. 3 movies. The last one is called The Eclipse. Yeah, Le Aventura, La Notte, and La Eclipse. It's his trilogy on modernity and its discontents. And La Aventura is from 1960, La Notte is from 1961, and La Eclipse is from 1962. They very much seem like my vibe. They're very emo, but they're also stylish, and they're black and white, and they're Italian. So my intention is to watch them in Italian, turn the subtitles off, and then if I get really overwhelmed, I'll turn them back on.
Nice. Nice.
But they look so good. Have you seen them?
No.
They look so stylish, and like it's like the brutalist architecture and everything. And I'm just like, this very much seems like my cup of tea. And if these movies can make me cry, which I think they will, it's just going to make me so happy. So I think that's next on my list. What do you have on your like? What are you going to watch next?
Oh, there's just a million billion things floating around my list. Other than what we're watching for podcast. I need to watch, well, these are both relevant to recent discussions. I need to watch all of Prakash Mehra's films because every time I
Mm.
do, I really like one. When we discussed Sharmili, I was reminded that I haven't seen most of that director's films, Samir Ganguly, so I need to do that. For various things in my life, there's a couple things I want to rewatch. So like Rabne Bana
Mm.
Di Jodi keeps coming up here
Mm.
and there, and I would like to rewatch that. I have not quite finished my Yash Chopra filmography, so there's one film I have left to watch, and
Which
I
is
need
it?
to do that. Mashal.
Oh God. Okay.
Right. I left
But
a bit of a slog till last.
I thought you had seen it, or was it
I
Vijay you
s-
were talking
I
about?
started it and then I didn't finish it. But is Vijay the one with Anil and Rishi?
I think so.
I started that one and then fast forwarded through a big chunk and then finished it. So that's finished
Okay.
enough for me for that film. Uh at least until I get some very specific homework to watch it. So I mean, Mashal does at least sound interesting and kind of, I don't know, more about something that is interesting to me. So I need to try that. But yeah, there's a million billion things on my list, and some of them I probably won't be able to find with subtitles. So they'll just sit there on the list for a while until I can track them down.
I mean, the lists are always ever expanding.
Yep.
I like doing a thing where it's like I like to cleanse my palate a little bit. So then
Sure.
I'll watch like some things and then I'll go off in a completely different direction. Like right now, my palate is very like feel good and jolly and happy because I've been binging on Ted Lasso. But then
Mm-hmm.
I'm hoping that it then becomes very dark and emo and stylish and existential angst with the Antonioni trilogy that I want to watch. And then I'll and then I have to watch movies for our next podcast episode, which is going to be such a mixed bag because that's going to be Shashi's family. So I want to rewatch Junoon because
Big
that way
mixed bag.
yeah, that's such a mixed bag. So then that'll be Bollywood again. And then this Saturday, I'm going to go watch Fellowship of the Ring in the movie theater, the extended edition. So that's going to be fun. That's going to be 3 hours and 45 minutes.
Wow.
Um, I also have tickets for Return of the King. So I'm going to watch Lord of the Rings again in the movie theaters. No one was willing to come with me, which is just
Aw.
as well. So I have my ticket. I will have my big, gigantic Coke and I'll probably just cry for like 3 hours. It's gonna
Aw.
be fun. Yeah. So that's what's happening in my life, movie wise.
I'm also in the middle of watching the current or most recent season of a beloved by me murder mystery series from New Zealand called The Brokenwood Mysteries, which, if people have not seen, it's on Acorn here in the United States. It is delightful. It's a little bit like Midsummer Murders from Britain. If you watch that, like it's a small town in New Zealand, and yet that's a
Hmm.
very high body count for being such a small town, but it's got, slightly quirky, but overall very competent police officers.
Hmm.
And it's just, I don't know, it's that nice sweet spot of like engaging but not too challenging,
Yeah.
which is nice for like, oh, I'm tidying the room while I watch this or whatever. So
Right.
that's a good one for
There
me.
is a New Zealand detective TV show that I had seen. It's the only Kiwi thing I've
Oh,
ever seen. I'm trying to find it. I can't find it right now, but it was really good.
was
It
it called?
was
Is it the one about is it One Lane Bridge?
no, it was about this, I'll find it. I'll send it to you, but it was really, really good. It was the only time I've seen a Kiwi show, and I really like the vibe.
Yeah, I think it's pretty hard to find New Zealand television easily anyway. I've only seen a couple of things, but I did like them all. This Brokenwood is my favorite, but there's also Almighty Johnsons, which I may have talked about on this show before. It's about maybe 15 years old now, and it's about a family who are all incarnations of the Norse gods.
Mm. Oh,
And it's mostly funny, but it's also got some dramatic stuff to it. Um,
that
and I
actually sounds
believe,
amazing. Like they're reincarnations of Norse gods. Do
yeah,
they know that they're
they do.
reincarnated?
But
Oh,
you only kind of come into your thing when you turn 21 or whatever. So it opens with the youngest brother finding out which one he is and
that could be fun.
all that stuff. And the little girl from Whale Rider is in it
Okay.
as a Maori god. So
Okay.
cute. That little girl, she's so amazing as a grown up. Um, and then I've seen Under the Vines, which is a story about people inheriting a winery. That's really
Okay.
cute. And One
That's
Lane
Kiwi
Bridge,
also.
yeah, One Lane Bridge is a kind of supernatural one with a bridge through a town, which I believe is the town where a lot of the filming for Lord of the Rings was based. So you might really
Hmm.
recognize some of the scenery.
Okay.
But there's a Maori cop who kind of has visions of things that have happened at the bridge before. And of course, there are a lot of suicides and deaths at it because it's a one lane. And I keep thinking, like, why would you make only one lane in the bridge? This seems like a really bad idea.
Right.
Um, that one's quite good. And then there's another a show that is, I think it's called Nothing Trivial. It's about a pub trivia team.
Okay.
It's a couple seasons, so it's just, again, mostly a comedy, but just relationships and whatever kind of thing among like mostly 30 somethings, which is, I'm not really selling it, I realize, but I found it very pleasant, and a
Okay.
lot of you'll see the same actors across some of these things. So if you're into that, that's kind of fun too. But
Yeah.
yeah, thumbs up to New Zealand television.
I Googled it and I was wrong. So the show I was talking about was Deadlock, which I really loved. And it's
Oh,
actually
yes.
Aussie. It's not New
Yes.
Zealand.
I haven't
It's an
seen that,
Aussie
but
show.
I hear good
You
things
would
about
love
that.
it.
Yeah.
It is so funny and acerbic and witty and smart, but it's also very feminist, which I
Mm,
really enjoyed. Like all the
yeah.
characters in it are just so strong. It has such a strong point of view. It's very unapologetic about it, but at the same time, it's not like it doesn't bog you down too much, and
Mm,
it's just so well made. I wonder if they're going to come out with another season of it, but
nice.
I hope they do because I'll check it out.
Mm.
And then the only other thing I have on my list, which it might take me some time to get through because I'll probably watch it with my husband, so our schedules have to coordinate, is Panchayat season 3. So I love Panchayat. It is such a good show. It has Neena Gupta in it. It has Jitu Bhaiya. It's just so cute. It's a very fish out of water story. I've seen season 1 and season 2. Both were excellent. Season 3 just came out. I don't know if it's been well received or not because I usually avoid reviews like the plague. But that is also on my list. That is also a very sweet, like very Malgudi Days esque
Mm.
fish out of water story. And I'm excited about watching that. But yeah, so just a lot of stuff to get through. There's so many movies. And then I don't know if I spoke about this on the podcast or whether I was just telling you in general about it, but I really like Dead Boy Detectives.
Oh,
Um,
yes.
it was on Netflix. So cute. It's absolutely adorable. It's a teen drama, but I like teen dramas. I don't mind those. And they're dead. The two detectives are ghosts. This is not a spoiler. You just know it from the get go. And Neil Gaiman is associated with it. It's based on his Sandman stories, and it's just adorable and funny and dark and cool and emo. All the things I like. So I would recommend that. It's a lot of fun, and the characters are just like they're just hilarious. There's some really good acting in there.
Nice.
I mean, given especially how young they are. But yeah, I think that's it. Did you, Adiban, have any ad?
Yeah, I think that's roughly what I'm watching these days.
Okay, very cool. So this is Buddhiman and the man signing off. Just kidding. We are not the Tyaag and Izzat podcast. We have nothing to do with Tyaag or Izzat. We do not care.
We
We
avoid when we
actually have,
can.
yes, we have
Avoid
zero
Yaar.
interest, avoid yar. We have zero interest in doing any kind of Tyaag, especially if all it does is uphold patriarchal norms, which we are against. We are also very Be'ezzat and Besharam people. So we do not subscribe to notions of Izzat either. And so this is actually the Filmi Ladies podcast, and we are Pitu and Beth, and we're going to continue being our Bishop themselves. And we will see you next week with yet another episode, and it will be a Kapoor family episode because the Kapoor family is the gift that keeps giving. Bye.